Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa ba'd. So we've been discussing the coming of Dajjal and the various narrations concerning that. To continue from that, Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, يَنزِلُ الدَّجَّالُ, that the Dajjal will come amongst the people. فَيَكُونُ أَكْثَرَ مَنْ يَخْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ النِّسَاءُ, and the bulk of people that will be following him will be the women folk. The women folk. So much so that the person who is a caretaker of the house will secure his wife, his daughter, his sister, his female relatives in the house, even if he has to tie them up, even if he has to forcibly keep them in the house, he will keep them in the house so that they stay away from the fitnah of the Dajjal. So one can only imagine how severe that trial and fitnah would be for a person not wanting to even allow someone to see the Dajjal or be anywhere near the vicinity or be anywhere near the Dajjal. And of course, we know from various ahadith that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he gave the da'wah to the people of Tawheed al-Ibadah, especially during the Makkah period, the mushrikeen of Makkah, they would stop their young folk and those that they had control over from even seeing Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or going anywhere near him. So the people of falsehood, they were doing the work of Dajjal then in stopping the people going to the truth. What we are told is that we have to stop ourselves by going to the falsehood, i.e. the Dajjal. Because they didn't want the people to understand Tawheed and to come to Tawheed, to come to al-Islam. And the more they stopped, the more the people, alhamdulillah, entered into the deen of al-Islam, and the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was ghalib and will remain ghalib. As for the Dajjal, it's the opposite. To preserve the truth, to preserve the haqq, to preserve one religion, people are going to have to stay away from this individual. So, we therefore realize that the truth is the Quran and the Sunnah, and a part of that is to stay away from that which opposes the Quran and Sunnah. A part of that truth is also to stay away from that which opposes the Quran and Sunnah. So just like the Rasul ﷺ was the truth and giving the truth, and those that came towards him and accepted the deen were upon the truth, likewise, to stay away from the Dajjal and to stay away from his fitnah is also a part of clinging to the haqq, the truth. To stay away from the innovator, to stay away from the person of shirk and kufr. It is to be upon the haqq. وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُ. That which the Rasul ﷺ gives you, you take it, and that which he tells you to abstain from, to stay away from, you stay away from it. So to stay away from the Dajjal, to keep one family away from the Dajjal, is to uphold the truth. To stay away from those who are upon the way of Dajjal, the mushrik, the one upon bid'ah, the one upon misguidance, is to also uphold the haqq, uphold the truth. And this is something which is an obligation. This is not one of them things which is just merely mustahab or mubah or recommended. No. This is something which is an obligation. To be upon the truth and its people and with its people, and to stay away from the falsehood and its people. This is the truth. And outside of that, there are no grey areas. It is as the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has informed us. So there's no grey area. That it's okay for some people to go and see the Dajjal. No. You stay away from the fitnah. You stay away from those who are promoting the shirk and the innovation and misguidance. So these ahadith should teach us that amongst many other things. Likewise, because of the fear of Dajjal and the fitnah that the Dajjal will spread, the hadith mentions, the narrator is Sharika radiallahu ta'ala anha, The Rasul said, لَيَفِرَنَّ النَّاسُ مِنَ الدَّجَّالِ فِي الْجِبَالِ قَالَتْ شَرِيكٍ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم فَأَيْنَ الْعَرَبُ يَوْمَئِذٍ فَأَيْنَ الْعَرَبُ يَوْمَئِذٍ قَالَ هُمْ قَلِيلٌ. That the people will, because of the fear of Dajjal and the fitnah of Dajjal, they will seclude themselves and go towards the mountains. Sharik radiallahu ta'ala anha, this Sahabiya, she asked, O Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, will the Arabs be few on that day? Yani, where will the Muslims amongst the Arabs be on that day? The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, at that time they will be few in number. So the Arabs, the believing Arabs, will be few in number. So this is also very important that we take many benefits from this, because people, they seem to think that the truth is that which is the majority, or the truth is that which the great multitude of people are upon. No, the truth is rather what is confined in the book and the Sunnah, even if it's a handful of people that are upon that. Even if it's a single person, that person can be the jama'ah, that person can be the one who is upon the truth and upholding the truth. And really, why am I mentioning truth? Because the argument with Dajjal is a argument of between haqq and batil, between truth and falsehood. Either one will be upon the truth or one will be upon the falsehood. So in order to preserve that truth, these people at that time, they will seclude themselves and recluse themselves from that situation and go towards the mountains, meaning a far place away from the Dajjal. Once again, not to be involved in, let's just see what's that entertainment going on. Let's just give that person a chance. Let's just see what he has to say. No. As Salaf were very precise in staying away, and I repeat, from the innovator, in staying away from the person who was upon misguidance, upon shirk and innovation. And what is it that Dajjal will be upon other than that? What is it that he'll be promoting if not that? He'll be promoting misguidance. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has informed us to stay away from those who call to the gates of the fire of hell. So, whether we come to see that time or not, may Allah save us from seeing the time of Dajjal. What do we do about this today? What should our manhaj and methodology be today? What should our aqidah actually? This is a part of our belief be today. It is to uphold the truth and to be upon the truth, and to stay away from all that which opposes the truth and its people. And its people. We stay away from innovation and shirk and its people. Because you cannot have an action. You cannot have an action without the fa'il. You cannot have an action without the one who is doing the action. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he said to his people and to his father, and those that were with Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, they made a statement and they made it crystal clear that we are free from you, وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, that we make bara'ah, we are freeing ourselves from you, because you are the ones who are joining partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, and also that which you worship alongside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, the manhaj of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah is to free themselves from the falsehood and those upon the falsehood also. From the falsehood and those upon that falsehood. Likewise, we know from the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, or Jibra'il, both ways are correct. The hadith is Sahih Muslim, where Yahya bin Ya'mar came to seek clarification concerning the people of Basra, thousands of miles away. He has now come to Makkah to seek clarity concerning an issue. And he sees a senior companion at that time, Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that we have a people amongst us, O Ibn Umar, companion of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who are denying the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They deny the pre-decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They've fallen short in this matter of belief. What is it that you advise us with? So what's the very first thing that Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said? He said, when you see them people, let them know that inni bari'um minhum, I am free from them. and that they are free from me. Let them know that I am free from them and they are free from me. Meaning I'm free from them and what they are upon. And let them know that they should also be free from what I am upon. He hadn't met these people thousands of miles away. He hadn't spoken to these people. He hadn't sat with these people. He hadn't investigated what these people are about. He hadn't seen what the benefit was in these people. But no, he made the manhaj clear for us. And what's the manhaj? It's not necessary for you and I. It is not necessary for you and I to sit with a person of misguidance before we free ourselves from him. Let me repeat that. It will not be necessary for a believer to free himself from the Dajjal and his fitnah, and first to go to him to see what he's about. It's not necessary, not needed, and it's certainly not legislated. It is not necessary for you and I today to stay away from a person of misguidance, from a person who may be calling to misguidance, who may be upon innovation, may be upon shirk, for us to go and see what he's about first. This is point number one. Nor is it necessary for you and I to make new principles, as some of the people have done. That we warn against the innovation, but we don't warn against the one doing the innovation. We warn against the action, but not the one doing the action, not the one being involved in the action. This is an innovation in manhaj. The manhaj of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah is they warn against the misguidance and the one upon it. If his misguidance is open, they warn openly. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had not met these people thousands of miles away. Let them know I'm free from them, and let them know that they are free from me. Point number 3, Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. They keep themselves away from fitnah, and they clarify their positions. Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, they don't sit on the fence when it comes to the Sharia, the Quran and the Sunnah and the way of the Salaf. I hope there's some water, Barakallahu fi. May Allah bless you. Right in your face in this Sunnah. My throat was drying up.
Allahu Akbar.
Start firing now. Ahlul Bidah, lock up your houses. So, Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they don't have this notion of that we have to sit and advise someone before we warn against their innovation. No, ya akhi. This is not from the manhaj of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Sahaba. Nor do they want to see what the fitnah is about. They recluse themselves, they pull themselves away from and exclude themselves and don't become close to the fitnah. And the Dajjal and the ahadith concerning the Dajjal teaches that. Because yes, Dajjal will be evil personified, but those people today who are calling to the innovation, calling to shirk, calling to misguidance, they are calling to falsehood, as the Dajjal will be. That's the point here. So this is the manhaj of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Even if they're small in number. Even if they're small in number, the truth is not to be judged by the people upon it, but the people are to be judged by the truth that they adhere to and the truth that they are upon. So you won't see and you won't judge in a balance whether that's something truthful or not, just to see whether who's following it, how many people are upon it. So this hadith also teaches us that. It also teaches us that at time of fitnah, at times of trial and tribulation, we shouldn't be surprised when we see people around us fall off the wayside and go towards that fitnah and to be immersed in that fitnah. As for the individual himself, he should remain steadfast. O Messenger of Allah, will the Arabs not be many on that day? No, there'll be few. Meaning, many would have gone towards the fitnah. Many would have left towards the fitnah, and many would have also died previously in the wars that had taken place. So we have to be fully aware concerning these things. The Dajjal, what will he do? فَإِنَّهُ يَبْدَأُ فَيَقُولُ أَنَا نَبِيٌّ وَلَا نَبِيَّ بَعْدِهِ. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam informed us that to begin with, the Dajjal will proclaim prophethood for himself. He will proclaim to be a prophet. We know that hadith that there will be 30 Dajjals after the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, each one claiming to be a prophet. So this one, the main one, the one who is the Dajjal, will claim prophethood. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, La nabiyya ba'di, there is no prophet after me. لا تقوم الساعة, we've quoted this hadith before. لا تقوم الساعة حتى تقتل فئتان أثيمتان تكون بينهما مقتلة عظيمة دعوتهما واحدة وحتى يبعث الدجالون كذابون قريب من 30 كلهم يزعم أنه رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. That the day will not be established until two great large groups of people fight, and there will be much spilling of blood between them, and yet both will be upon one claim. And before that there will be many people who will be upon the way of the Dajjal liars, 30 of them, and each one of them will proclaim to be a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So his starting stage is to proclaim prophethood for himself, which will lead him to also say that he is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. Na'udhu billah min dhalik. So this teaches us about how fitna gradually immerses a person, and how fitna gradually overtakes a person, especially the one who entertains it. May Allah save us from fitna. So fitna could be in the dunya or the deen. The fitna in your deen is far more dangerous, far more severe than any fitna or any trial or tribulation or any test that we may face in the dunya. Because the one in the dunya, you may overcome it. You may have lost something financial, you may have lost something that is beloved to you, but at the end of the day you've preserved that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed upon this ummah as a favor. Al-Islam. Al-Yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam deena. You may have preserved that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept and only accept. وَمَن يَبْتَغِ غَيْرَ الْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا فَلَن يُقْبَلَ مِنْهُ. So to preserve one's Islamic identity and the religion is something which has a great status to it. Man qala la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah wa man mata wa ya'lamu an la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. The one who says la ilaha illallah, Jannah is for him, and the one who dies upon wa ya'lamu, and he has knowledge of this la ilaha illallah, meaning al-Islam, for him is al-Jannah. So this life that we have in this dunya is very short and very insignificant compared to that which is in the akhirah. Wal akhiratu khayrun wa abqa. That which is in the akhirah is everlasting, it's eternal. But when fitna comes, and if the fitna is in your deen, then there's problems. Imam Barbahari mentions in Inshaa Sunnah, as for innovation, it starts off as something small and it grows into larger innovations. How many fires, large fires, that have destroyed and caused havoc have begun by merely small sparks. A small spark creates a very large fire, destruction, devastation. So much so that the person of innovation, Barbahari mentions this, and today people say that they shouldn't read Sharh Sunnah of Imam Barbahari. I say shame on them for saying this. They've not really understood or read that text themselves. What should we read instead, I ask? So this is the reason why they don't want people to read Sharh Sunnah and books like this, because it clarifies the manhaj and the aqidah of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Innovation starts off as something small and grows. And Barbahari mentions that the Salaf used to say that the innovator becomes so comfortable with that fitna that he's in, that innovation, that when he is doing his innovation, he actually begins to feel that he's upon guidance, and the one upon the sunnah is upon misguidance. That his bid'ah becomes so beloved to him, and so glorified to him, and so attractive to him or her, that the shaitan fools them into thinking that the person who is actually upon the sunnah, holding onto the sunnah, is upon misguidance, and the one who is upon innovation, i.e. himself, he is upon guidance. What is it that Dajjal is going to do that's going to be different? He will present fire of hell to the people, but he will actually be paradise. Delude the people. So this person, that the Dajjal hasn't yet come into his or her life, he's actually deluded himself into thinking that his innovation that he's upon is the truth. And the one upon the sunnah is upon falsehood. So this is the work of the Dajjal. This is the seeds that the Dajjal has sowed of misguidance. And then that innovation, Barbahari says, becomes so manifest into that person that the innovation which he shows, the misguidance which he shows to the people, is actually far less than the misguidance that he has within himself. What a wretched position to be in. That the misguidance that a person has in his heart is far more severe than the misguidance that he may be showing to the people. Why? Because now shaitan has completely got that person. And this is why the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and it's elevated to the status of marfu. The scholars mention this hadith mawqufan as well from the Sahaba, and some of the Salaf have also given some further explanation concerning this, that the innovator, his tawbah is not accepted. The innovator doesn't make tawbah. Because why? Because the innovator is the one who, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mercy upon him, he will actually believe he's upon the truth. When you actually believe you're upon the truth, why would you have the need to say, oh Allah, make tawbah for praying to you? You're not going to say that. So whether it's his mawlid or whether it's all the other innovations that we see in our society today, he'll go onto the TV, the radio stations, everywhere spread innovations, believing it to be the truth. And there's no fadl in this, there's no greatness, there's no status in this. Rather, the innovation and the misguidance inside is far greater. And the Dajjal, what he's going to do is start off by slowly introducing that misguidance to the people. Then say he's a prophet, then say he's Allah himself. So just like innovation and misguidance in a person develops over stages, the Dajjal will speak to the people with the level that they are at and slowly invite them to his misguidance. And we know that this is a work of shaitan. This is what shaitan does. With Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, Allah said, لا تقرب هذه الشجرة فتكون من الظالمين. Don't eat from the tree. Don't go near that tree, for if you do, you'll be from amongst those who have lust and oppress themselves. So it wasn't just that the shaitan came and he said, eat from that tree. The scholars of tafsir have mentioned that it was over stages. Why has your Lord forbid you from going near that tree? Slowly sowing that doubt, as will be done by the Dajjal. Slowly, slowly, slowly making and sowing that doubt, that shubha, that waswasa, that whispering, up to the point where the shaitan is saying that the reason you're told not to eat from that tree, because if you do eat from that tree, it will do what? Two things. Two things. And the Dajjal will be no different in what he says. Number one, Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, you'll be given an extensive, much kingdom. This is a weakness of mankind. Wealth, kingdom. And number two, your life will be eternal. You will live forever. And this is why Adam alayhi salatu wasalam done what he done. So that's Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. The Dajjal here, what is he doing? Come to me, here's your father that had passed away, here's your mother, look, I brought that one back to life. Slowly, 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 working on emotions of people, inviting them to the dunya. Look at that land over there that hasn't produced crops for you for many years. The person will look away, now look there back again, he will look, and it'll be a luscious green field filled with crops. The hub of the dunya, love of the dunya. زين للناس حب الشهوات من النساء والبنين والقناطير المقنطرة من الذهب والفضة والخيل المسومة والأنعام والحرث ذلك متاع الحياة الدنيا. Person, a man, human beings have this love for the dunya, and for cattle and for vegetation and for wealth and for women and so on and so forth, gold and silver. Did we not see a few weeks ago that the mountain of gold will be discovered and 999, and every 199 people will be died just trying to get to that gold. Only one will survive. Love of the dunya. So the Dajjal, he slowly will build up to introducing people to his prophethood, his claim of prophethood, and then he will say that he is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning he has the abilities, he will say to the people which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has. And this is a side point here. We have a group of people amongst us today that they may not call their saints Lord or Allah, and in fact they don't. But they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given the ability, Allah has given some of His abilities, some of His powers to their saints. Exactly what the Dajjal will be claiming and saying. That the only reason I ask of Saint so-and-so, not because I believe him to be Allah, no. I believe that Allah has given ata. The actual power is dhati with Allah. They say it belongs with Allah and Allah alone. But Allah has bestowed, He has delegated, given some of His authority and powers to our saints. But we don't accept them to be Allah. Do you think many of the people who follow the Dajjal will accept him to be Allah? Or will it be the case that they will be lured in by what he shows them of his powers that he's been given? So, shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to turn away from the deen of Islam, this is one of the ways that the people have introduced. It's with amongst us today. To the extent that Ahmad Rida Khan, one of the founding fathers of that sect, of the Barelvis and the Quburis, he says in one of his books, this is a name you may well be familiar with from the Indian subcontinent. He says, whenever I ask of Abdul Qadir Jailani. And whenever I've wanted to ask something from a saint other than Abdul Qadir Jailani, my tongue stutters and doesn't allow me to do that. Allahu Akbar. You try to work that one out. Where's Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in? So the Dajjal will be upon this methodology, upon this manhaj, upon this way. Slowly introducing people to that and claiming that he had powers from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِنَّ رَأْسَهُ مِنْ وَرَائِهِ حُبْكٌ وَإِنَّهُ سَيَقُولُ أَنَا رَبُّكُمْ. Abu Ghurabaa radiallahu ta'ala narrates that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam narrated the events of Dajjal to the people, and he said that the back of the head of Dajjal will be slightly bald, and soon he will be saying to the people that Ana Rabbukum, I'm your Lord. Yeah, he will be a liar in this. And the people will say to him, you are not our Lord. Our Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people of Tawheed. The people of Tawheed will be saying this. If the one whose Tawheed is already torn to pieces, I ask you, how will that person say to the Dajjal that Allah is my Lord? That person won't be even be able to say that in his grave to the angels, my Lord is Allah. How are they going to say to the Dajjal? Because his Lord was not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had other lords, false gods that he had alongside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the people of Tawheed, the people who understood and were upon Tawheedul Ibadah, the worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, will say, you're a liar, rather our Lord is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is He that we rely on, and it is Him that we turn to. And we seek refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from you and your evil. The Rasul said, it is upon these people that the call of Dajjal will have no effect. Meaning, Dajjal will not be able to harm their deen, their religion. So, can you imagine a situation now where those who are following Dajjal are great in number, they have extreme wealth and vegetation and fruits and so on and so forth, and even their dead relatives have been brought back for them, and the ones upon Tawheed are in the mountains, few in number, are running away from the fitna of Dajjal. No vegetations, no land, nothing. So the people of Tawheed get tested. But to remain upon Tawheed, it's the peak and the pinnacle of all successes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala improve us in our Tawheed and keep us upon that. May He safeguard us from shirk and innovation and the fitna of Dajjal. For really, this is the true success. And it's the reality behind our existence. This Tawheed is the reality behind our existence. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. يُوَحِّدُونَ, so that you become people of Tawheed. Allah created you so that you become people of Tawheed and you worship Him alone, singling Him out alone. And the Dajjal's program will be anti this. But as I say, someone who doesn't understand Tawheed, or someone who has a corrupted Tawheed, he will be easy prey for Dajjal. Now, in another hadith from Nawas bin Sam'an radiallahu ta'ala, it is mentioned that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was mentioning the Dajjal, and he said, فَيَأْتِي عَلَى الْقَوْمِ فَيَدْعُوهُمْ فَيُؤْمِنُونَ بِهِ وَيَسْتَجِيبُونَ لَهُ فَيَأْمُرُ السَّمَاءَ فَتُمْطِرُ وَالْأَرْضَ فَتُنْبِتُ. That the Dajjal will come towards a people and he will invite them, he will call them. So the Dajjal will be a preacher. He will call the people. He will call the people to his falsehood. And they will accept his call, meaning they will accept his call of Rububiyyah. They will accept his call of being Allah, being Rabb. And they will begin to follow him. Dajjal will command the heavens to send rain forth, and he will start to rain. And he will command the earth to bring out its vegetation, and the vegetation will appear before the people. Can you imagine what a severe trial and test that would be? But as I say, for those that worshipped the dunya and the glitter and the glamour of the dunya, that would truly be a paradise for them. That here we have someone who is giving us, when people are they have nothing. There's famine. In the hadith mentions that there will be famine as well. But what will keep them going? Other hadith mention it, that the people who will be upon the Tawheed, upon the oneness of Allah, the food for them people will be Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar. Can you imagine? The Tawheed of Allah, the dhikr of Allah will be their sustenance, will be their provision. Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does what He wants. Who is it to question Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If the Dajjal is going to do this for his followers, Allah Azza wa Jal will not abandon the believers that day. He is our Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is to be firm upon that tawheed. And the Salaf used to say, to accept tawheed, and I'm paraphrasing here, to accept tawheed is the easy part, but to maintain and to be firm upon that, it's the difficult part. And this is a reality, is it not? How many times do we get tested in our lives and then we think, you know what? We become so weak, we sometimes leave the religion and its teachings and move away from that. Leave ourselves off from good brothers, from the brothers who are upon the Quran and Sunnah. Just keep ourselves in our house and have that time to just think away. The Rasul said, keep away from the fitnah of Dajjal and lock yourself up in your house. We're keeping away from the truth and locking ourselves up in our house. Don't go to the masjid anymore. Don't go to the durus anymore. How is that a good thing? How could that be a good thing for a person's iman and a person's Islam and a person's deen? And the society that we live in, you could be off the radar for years, people won't care about you. That's the only best word that I could use. People won't care about you. Gone are the days where if you weren't sitting in the masjid for maybe 1 or 2 prayers, people were knocking on your door. Where are you? Why have you not come to the masjid? What's going on? Everything okay? Do you need anything? And I'm not talking 1400 years ago. I'm talking 15, 20 years ago, right? Recent times. It's all changed. Tawheed shouldn't teach the people to turn away from each other. This is our shortcoming in our understanding of Tawheed and the Sunnah, by the way. That we fall into that place. So the Dajjal do all these things, and the people will be lured in because of the dunya and the craving for it. And therefore, this is why you will see that the scholars of hadith, when they compile their books of hadith, there's rarely a scholar who left out the chapter of raqa'iq, the chapter of the heart softness, the chapter of they included the chapter of zuhud, the chapter of abstaining from the dunya and being closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the chapter of softening your heart. It is because when you have fitnah around you, it is them things, the love of the deen and so on and so forth, that will sometimes save you from that fitnah. So we know what the scholars have said about staying away from the fitnah, but what about when it's like I said, one of your own brothers you've not seen for a few days or what have you? We should be aware of that and reach out to our brothers and sisters and build that brotherhood and love between us. May Allah allow us to do that. We know the ahadith about the Dajjal not entering Makkah and Medina. So I'm going to skip that. Likewise, those that will oppose the Dajjal. Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that because of what I've heard from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I love the Banu Tamim, the tribe, the Banu Tamim, people of Banu Tamim. He said that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said concerning them, Hum ashaddu ummati ala Dajjali, that from my ummah it is these people who will be the most severe against the Dajjal. And the narrator of the hadith said that once the zakah came from the people of Banu Tamim, and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is zakah from our people, meaning he called the Banu Tamim his own people. And a woman was a prisoner of war, and she came from the Banu Tamim, and she came to Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha said, free her, meaning give her her freedom. because she is from the descendants of Ismail alayhi salatu wassalam. This is in Bukhari 2543. It's well worth looking at the explanation of this hadith. There's much benefit in that. Just as a side point, Banu Tamim. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab was from the Banu Tamim. Doesn't necessitate that, but the reality is that he was a person of Tawheed. He called Tawheed. He shunned Shirk. So, we have here the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam telling us about Banu Tamim. And the Arabs today, they are from Banu Tamim. The Arabs meaning those Arabs that are there from in the Hijaz. So there's a great station and a great status for the Banu Tamim, and especially those who are going to fight the Dajjal. Now, Nafi bin Utbah radiallahu ta'ala narrates that the Rasul said, you will find those from the Jazeera of the Arabs, and Allah Azza wa Jal will give you victory. Then you will fight those who are the people of the Persians, the Pharisees, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you victory, you will be victorious. Then you will fight the Romans. This has all happened, by the way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you victory. ثم تغزون الدجال فيفتح الله. Then you will fight the Dajjal and Allah will give you victory. So he's addressing here the people who are around him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Arabs, the Sahaba. Nafi' narrates, and he said, O Jabir, to one of the companions, that the Dajjal will not enter until the Romans are therefore defeated. So the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they knew full well that the hadith was speaking about their descendants, the Arabs. So there's a station, there's a fadl, there's a status for those who are upon the Quran and Sunnah from that genealogy. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala narrates, Rasul said, ثُمَّ يُسَلِّطُ اللَّهُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ عَلَيْهِ فَيَقْتُلُونَهُ وَيَقْتُلُونَ شِيَّتُهُ. That when the Dajjal is there, you will fight him and you will overcome his army. You will overcome his army. So the people of truth will prevail. The people of truth will prevail. As for the Dajjal, we know the hadith, فَيَنْزِلُ عِيسَى بْنُ مَرْيَمْ فَأَمُّهُمْ فَإِذَا رَأَوْا عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ ذَابَ كَمَا يَذُوبَ الْمِلْحُ فِي الْمَاءِ فَلَوْ تَرَكَهُ الْأَنْذَابَ حَتَّى يَهْلِكَ وَلَكِنْ يَقْتُلْهُ اللَّهُ بِيَدِهِ فَيُرِيهِمْ دَمَهُ فِي حَرْبَتِهِ. That Isa alayhi salatu will lead the prayer, and then when the Dajjal is amongst the people and he sees Isa alayhi, he will melt away. Like water, like salt is melted in water. And if he was to be left, then he would have continued to just melt away in that way. And Isa alayhi will kill the Dajjal. And he will show the people the blood of Dajjal. So, do you think there's a contradiction in this hadith? No, not at all. The death of Dajjal, him melting away won't mean he will die, basically. Him melting away won't mean he will die. And it's something that it's a reality. The killing of Dajjal will be a reality at the hands of Isa alayhi salatu wassalam. يخرج الدجال في أمتي فيمكث 40 لا أدري 40 يوما أو 40 شهرا أو 40 عاما فيبعث الله عيسى ابن مريم كأنه أورة بن مسعود فيطلبه فيهلكه. That the Dajjal will come amongst the people and he'll be amongst them for 40 days. I do not know whether the 40 days I do not know whether it's 40 days or 40 months or 40 years. And other narrations have variations in this hadith, by the way. And his face will be that of Urwa ibn Mas'ud. And they will find the Dajjal and they will kill him. And then for 7 years they will remain like this. And no two people will have any enmity towards each other. And then a cold air will come amongst the people. That will come from the direction of the land of Sham. And then there will remain nobody upon the earth who will have even a mustard seed of Iman in their hearts, except that their life will be taken away from them. Meaning they will die. So this is a lengthy hadith which describes what will happen after the death of Dajjal. You could look this up yourselves, inshallah. The point here isn't just to give the narrative, as I've said before. So you could see up the narratives. Where will Dajjal die? We know that from the hadith. بِبَابِ لُدٍ فَيَقْتُلُهُ, at the gate of Lud. And Imam Nawawi rahmatullahi alayhi has said, وَهُوَ بَلْدَةٌ قَرِيبَةٌ مِنْ بَيْتِ الْمَقْدِسِ, that this place of Lud is a place which is near the Bayt al-Maqdis in modern day Palestine. And Imam Ibn al-Athir has said, لُدُّ مَوْضِعٌ بِالشَّامِ وَقِيلَ بِفَلَسْطِينَ, that look, Lud is a place in Sham, and it's also been said that it is a place in Palestine. How long will Dajjal be upon the earth for? For 40 days, as has been mentioned. So the first day will be equivalent to a year. And the second day equivalent to a month, and the third day equivalent to a week, and then after that the remaining 37 days like hours, as has been mentioned in the hadith. And the fight between the Dajjal and the believers will be the last fight, meaning the fight to end all fights. لا تزال طائفة من أمتي يقاتلون على الحق ظاهرين على من ناواهم حتى يقاتل آخرهم المسيح الدجال. The Rasul said that my ummah will continuously fight with the people up until, and they will remain victorious upon the people up until their last fight. Their last battle will be with the Masih al-Dajjal. So this is a fight to end all fights. Those that fight alongside Isa والسلام, to overcome the Dajjal. What does the hadith tell us about that? Thawban radiyallahu ta'ala narrated, Rasul said, إِسَابَتَانِ مِنْ أُمَّتِي أَهْرَزَهُمَ اللَّهُ مِنَ النَّارِ إِسَابَةٌ تَغْزُو الْهِنْدَ وَإِسَابَةٌ تَكُونُ مَعَ عِيسَى بْنِ مَرْيَمَ. That there will be two groups of people from my ummah upon whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save them from the fire. Meaning the fire will be not touching them. And one of them is those who will fight alongside Isa والسلام, to fight the Dajjal and his army. Now, so there's a whole discussion amongst the scholars of hadith, as we mentioned last time, whether Ibn Sayyad is a Dajjal or not. I don't see any need for us to go through that in any detail. So if anyone wants to go through that, inshallah, we'll do that. If you want, let us know after the dars, inshallah. Maybe we'll do it the next week. But there's various narrations, what have you. The point is, Ibn Sayyad is not a Dajjal. Ibn Sayyad was not a Dajjal. That's the point. That's the conclusion of the ahadith when you put them all together. يأتيني صادق وكاذب, like he himself said, that the people which come to me, the things which come to me, sometimes tell me the truth and sometimes tell me fabrications. So he was like a soothsayer, like a person involved in fortune telling. did he become Muslim? Then Ibn Sayyad I'm talking about. I'm just giving you snippets of conclusions just so you can look up these things yourself, inshallah. A vast number of ulama have said that Ibn Sayyad became Muslim after the passing away of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam Ibn Hajar has said concerning him, وَوَالَّذِي قِيلَ أَنَّهُ الدَّجَّالُ وَقَدْ أَسْلَمَ, that it has been said about Ibn Sayyad, Abdullah bin Sayyad, that he is a Dajjal, however he became a Muslim. He performed Hajj, he was involved in battles alongside the Muslims, and he remained in Medina. Imam Dhabi said concerning him, Abdullah ibn Sayyad ثم أسلم فهو تابعي له رؤية, that Abdullah ibn Sayyad had been mentioned by the scholar Ibn Shaheen, and he has said that he is Ibn Sayyad, whose father was a Yahudi, and he was, then he said where he was born, and he passed away, he became a Muslim, therefore he is a tabi'i, even though he saw the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned about Ibn Sayyad, أن ابن سياد كان دجالا من الدجاجلة ثم تاب بعد ذلك فأظهر الإسلام والله أعلم بذميله وسيرته. That no doubt Ibn Sayyad was a Dajjal from amongst the Dajjals. Then afterwards he repented, accepted Islam, and Allah knows best about his intentions and his lifestyle, his seerah. And just as a side point, Ibn Sayyad, Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi actually had brought narration with Ibn Sayyad in there. In Tabaqat al-Kubra, Imam Malik there's a narration from him. Ibn Sayyad وَيَكُنَّ أَبَا أَيُّوبَ وَكَانَ ثَقَةً قَلِيلَ الْحَدِيثِ وَكَانَ مَالِكُ بْنُ أَنَسٍ لَا يُقَدِّمُ عَلَيْهِ أَحَدٌ فِي الْفَضْلِ وَرَوَى عَنْهُ. Ibn Sayyad, his kunya was Abu Ayyub. He was thicker, even though he was trustworthy, even though his narrations are few in number. And Imam Malik bin Anas would not narrate from someone that he didn't accept to be obviously a Muslim, but someone of some standing or status. So I'm just giving you a flavor, because we've seen Ibn Sayyad being mentioned, and he fits in with the discussion of Dajjal and is often mentioned alongside Dajjal. But I'm just mentioning this because a lot of the times when you listen to people speaking about the signs before the last day, they mention Ibn Sayyad and they sort of leave 2 points lingering. The first point people leave lingering is, was Ibn Sayyad a Dajjal or not? And the second point they leave lingering is something about Ibn Sayyad, the man himself. So I thought it'd be beneficial if we mentioned the sayings of the scholars concerning Ibn Sayyad and concerning him becoming a Muslim and repenting and so on and so forth. So I hope that's helpful, inshallah. The ways of preserving oneself from the fitna of Dajjal, the last few minutes. Obviously we know the dua that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam would teach his companions. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr wa a'udhu bika min fitnat al-masih ad-dajjal. O Lord, save us. We seek refuge in you from the punishment of the grave and from the fitna of Dajjal and from the fitna of life and death, and we return to you in repentance, and we seek refuge in you. So this is one way, through dua, and this is a dua you make in salah, and you can make it outside of salah also. Inna Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam kana yasta'idu fi salatihi min fitnat ad-dajjal. The Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam would make a point of making dua in his salah, seeking protection and refuge from the Dajjal. Ta'awadhu billahi min fitnati ad-dajjal. And some of the scholars have concluded, and rightly so, that it's an obligation. Shaykh Albani rahmatullahi alayhi has said that you must seek refuge from the fitna of Dajjal in your salah. And the hadith actually mentions إذا فرغ أحدكم من التشهد الأخير فليتعوذ بالله من أربعين ومن شر المسيح الدجال. When you finish your tashahhud, Allah التحيات لله والصلوات والطيبات, then seek refuge from 4, including the refuge from the Dajjal. And the scholars, as I've said, have concluded that it's therefore an obligation that we learn this dua and we seek refuge from the fitna of Dajjal in our salah. Also, the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Abu Darda, the Rasul said, Man hafidha asha ayat min Surah Al-Kahfi, usima bil fitnati Dajjal. That the one who has memorized, learnt, i.e. implements and understands the first 10 verses of Dajjal will be saved from his fitna. So the Quran will be a means of protection for that person, the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And another hadith mentioned, فَمَنْ أَدْرَكَهُ مِنْكُمْ فَلْيَقْرَأْ عَلَيْهِ فَوَاتِهَ سُورَةِ الْكَهْفِ فَإِنَّهَا جِوَارُكُمْ مِنْ فِتْنَتِهِ. That if you were to encounter the Dajjal, then read the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Read the verses of the beginning verses of Surah Al-Kahf. This will save you and preserve you from his fitna. The third way is, as we've mentioned, to stay away from Dajjal, not to entertain Dajjal. Let me just see what that's all about. No, none of that. Stay away from him. The fourth way is to be involved actively in opposing the Dajjal, if the one has the ability to obviously do that. The fifth way is, as the scholars have mentioned, to be resident in Makkah and Medina at that time. لا يدخل المدينة رؤب المسيح الدجال ولها يومئذ سبعة أبواب على كل باب ملكان. That there'll be a angel at the beginning, at the entrance of every gate of Medina, and he's waiting for the Dajjal, and the Dajjal will not be able to enter in there. But don't forget, read this hadith with the other hadith, that Medina and the earth will shake 3 times, and those who have hypocrisy within them, those who have the crookedness in them, they will expel themselves, they will leave Medina. So it's not just about the place, it's about the iman of the person, and it's about the belief in the tawheed and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So that concludes our first portion, or first major sign, let's just say, of Dajjal. I hope it's been insightful, and I hope I've been able to try to bring some benefits of Aqidah and Manhaj from the ahadith concerning the Dajjal and his being amongst the people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us all from the fitna of Dajjal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us all to take refuge in him and to be upon Tawheed and to keep away from those today who are upon the way of Dajjal. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Any questions, inshallah? No.
Two questions. Firstly, with Surah Kahf, the first 10 verses, are there any narrations regarding the last 10 verses as well?
Yeah, but I think you're thinking more about maybe there are some narrations about that. Some of the scholars have actually said that the narrations about Surah Al-Kahf, for example, reading them on Fridays or so forth are weak, but these ones are authentic. The ones that are mostly mentioned about the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf. And I'll just give you the actual reference so you'll see that who it is from amongst the ulama that have said that. But the hadith says, Man hafidha, whoever memorizes asha ayatin min Surah Al-Kahfi usima min fitnati Dajjal. That whoever memorizes 10 verses from Surah Al-Kahf will be saved from the Dajjal. So this hadith, for example, the one from Abu Darda radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, silsila hadith is sahiha, and it's authentic upon the conditions of Muslim, just generically mentions 10 verses. I'm sorry, my hay fever is kicking in here. Um, but other verses specify that further. For example, the hadith which says, "Man hafidha asha ayatin min awwali surat al-kahfi, min awwali surat al-kahfi, usima min fitnati dajjali." That the one who memorizes the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf will be saved and preserved from the fitna of Dajjal. Sahih Muslim hadith number 809. And likewise, the hadith which is in Abu Dawood, and it's authenticated by Allama Albani rahmatullahi, hadith number 4321. The Prophet mentioned, فَمَنْ أَدْرَكَهُ مِنْكُمْ فَلْيَقْرَأْ عَلَيْهِ فَوَاتِيَ سُورَةِ الْكَهْفِ فَإِنَّهَا جِوَارُكُمْ مِنْ فِتْنَتِهِ. That the one who sees the or encounters the Dajjal, then let him read the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf. This will save him from the fitna of Dajjal. And there are many reasons behind that the scholars have mentioned concerning this. So from the general hadith, what you'll see specifically, the bulk of them they actually mention and they specify the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. And this is what the ulama mentioned. Allah knows best. Now.
And second question.
Yeah.
The Dajjal will be given, by the permission of Allah, he'll point to the sky and it will rain, he'll point to the ground and it will produce vegetation. Will he be given this more than once, or is it just the one time?
So because he's going to be here for 40 days and first day like a year, this is something that will be continuous. Yeah. This will be his da'wah. As the hadith mentions, he'll pass a group of people amongst many groups of people. So it's not just going to pass one group of people. He's going to go throughout the lands, creating havoc and fitna wherever he goes. Allah knows best. So we have to understand that hadith in that context. As I said, he'll begin off by saying he's a prophet, then he'll say he's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it'll be gradual. It'll be a gradual process of fitna. May Allah save us from that. Now. That's right. Ibn Kathir mentions that also. Consider the hadith. We're going to come on to that inshallah. Yeah, we're going to come on to that inshallah. It's authentic. But Allah knows best. So we'll finish it there inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بارك الله فيك.